live like twice. Hmm. That's interesting because I hit go live and it didn't do anything, and I've been going for a solid 10 minutes. So now we got to recover all that. But welcome back to Winter Wolves, then, guys. Sorry, I think I boomered that on the first attempt there. Not sure how that happened. Needed King Z flying support on that, but he's unavailable in an unsecured location. So I'm just going to reload real quick and make apologies real fast. Bad case of the allergies, but I'm going to try and work my way through these stories as we go. We got a lot of cool stuff to cover here. We're going to do FrostCast. You're here for episode 8, of course. We're going to meet Wednesday nights, 9 Eastern. Going to run about an hour or so as long as my voice holds. I appreciate anybody dropping in. Feel free to let us know in the comments, chat, whatever. Drop a like, a sub, all that good stuff. If you're hanging out and you want to just talk Star Wars, nerd stuff, comics, movies, books, games, whatever. I got a lot to go over, so I'm just going to bang right into it. I am going to boomer my way through using StreamYard. That is absolutely King Z's bag for me. He handles all the tech stuff, so I'm just going to rely on your kindness as I work through and sort that stuff out together. But here we go. Story numero uno. Headline, thatparkplace.com. After Star Wars Ray movie writer announces plan to open new studio in LA, speculation grows that the Star Wars film could be scrapped. So this story, as you can see, by John F. Trent, founder of Bounding into Comics, came out about a week ago. It's been milling around, but I had a couple of thoughts on it that I just wanted to share. You guys can let me know in the chat what you guys think about this also happening here. This could be a subtle way to kind of put this movie out to pasture, not let it happen. It's possible. Disney's kind of struggling on the Star Wars front. Some folks think that the best thing they can do is embrace the absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of modality and just kind of put it away for 5-10 years and let people just get some space between the sequel trilogy, the Disney Plus shows, the kind of the bad fan label that's been thrown out, against legacy fans, things like that. Maybe make some distance. But the problem here is that Stephen Knight, who is the planned writer for this movie, is a fairly well-known screenwriter. He wrote a little show called Peaky Blinders. Some of you guys might have seen that. Some of you guys might be familiar with that. It's on Netflix. It's been around for a hot minute, but it's been successful enough that it's on, season 5 or whatnot, and they're giving it feature films. And this dude is apparently still involved with that. And in getting that done, he's going to be part and parcel opening a new studio in LA that's going to have a major impact on his available write time, his wrench time, his ass in seat writing Ray Palpatine time. So I'm not sure, exactly how he's going to fit all that in. Like, I was saying when I did not hit the go live button, apparently, any of you guys and gals that have been involved in opening a small business, or, you've taken on a large project at work, you know how labor intensive these kind of things can be. It's no joke. There's no save points for, grown up stuff like those kind of things. There's a lot of money involved in opening a business, a movie studio, restaurant, bar, whatever your business is. So I'm guessing Stephen Knight, I'm just going to roll down there to give him his little FaceTime. That dude looks like Robert Englund a little bit. Some Freddy Krueger there. I'm going to put a side by side up there. I'm just going to leave it on Daisy because she's pretty. If he's not available to write this movie, does it then get ghost written by staffers? Does he just, approve pages every now and then? Are we really going to turn this over to the damn story group again so we can get another stupid whiteboard that has dumb shit like dinosaurs and war and representation and no Skywalkers and just all the other stupid shit that made the sequel trilogy terrible? I think when Stephen Knight was announced, much like when Colin Trevorrow was announced doing episode 9, I think there was a little bit of hype. There was a little bit of excitement that, somebody with some sort of, maybe not admirable, but at least like a known quantity, that somebody that was a known quantity was going to take over and be at the helm. People felt slightly reassured. Without Stephen Knight, we're back to kind of square one. I got Kathleen Kennedy on one side. I got Obaid Chinoy, the director, on the other side. I got, Dave Filoni doing some other dumb shit, in doing his stupid input to things. And I don't want that. I think that somebody like Stephen Knight, who's kind of a veteran in the industry, he's obviously had mountains of success. He might not be the one for them to F with. So if anybody was going to give this like an honest to God shot, I feel like it would have been him. So if he's no longer available, I don't know what all they can do with that. It seems like that this might be the opportunity for them to just quietly, they'd never say it. They would just let the headline go in the news, Stephen Knight, leaves the project, creative differences, spending more time in opening new movie studio kind of thing. But it's tough to say. Can we really call it that? Is Daisy Ridley contractually obligated at this point? Do they have to pay her out? They brought her out on stage. They brought the director out on stage. So I mean, these people are attached and getting paid. So how much money do they want to throw down the toilet before they burn the whole pile of money? Because I think this gets dunked on at the box office, guys. Even if it gets put together, even if it gets released, I don't see any reason why this movie would be any different than the last 2, 3, 10 things they've done. Silver screen, small screen, screen door, it don't matter. They have a money problem every time they commit pen to paper and then get into production. They go over on reshoots. They go terribly over on cutting people off and putting people under crunch to do effects with rewrites that lead into the reshoots that run into bringing people back and paying them more when they've already moved on to other projects. I see this whole thing being a mess, but the part that concerns me the most is that if this guy's not allowed to focus on writing the best script he can write, I see what the end game, no pun intended, will be for this film. Is they'll bring in whichever studio hack that they have nearby. They'll say, "Hey, these are some plot points from the EU. Mix this shit into the Ray Palpatine thing we wanted to do." I can totally see that happening, right? And then what do you get? You get something stupid where you get random appearances by 75-year-old in a hover wheelchair Mara Jade. That would be stupid. I can see him doing it. They won't, they won't give the due respect to, Han, Luke, Leia, the real players on the scene there. Lando just brought him in and made him do dumb shit. They won't do anything right by that, but they might bring in a character you haven't seen yet and ruin him like they did Thrawn on the Ahsoka show. They could do that. The other terrible thing they could do, and I saw this blowing up in their face. You guys would have to bear with me. A little sniffly. Not because I'm emotional, because it ain't that type of party. But the other thing they could do, if they're really gonna stick to it, this will blow up spectacularly. It's almost like, dude, you know what? Let them do it. I think the ultimate slap in the face to like whatever legacy fans are left for this franchise would honestly be if they actually committed to the Rey suddenly somehow with no training, because there's no Yoda, there's no Obi-Wan, there's no Qui-Gon, there's no nobody. I doubt they bring Hamill back in any kind of meaningful capacity in episode 10 to continue training her to the level of Grandmaster. I don't need to see Rey Palpatine doing Luke Skywalker stuff. I think that'd be the ultimate slap in the face. That'd be the ultimate degradation of that character. There's zero interest in me watching this character get hand-me-down storylines that I've been wanting to see since I was a kid, but just bypass over the person that was supposed to get them and then drop them on Rey Palpatine's lap. I really don't want to see that. But I hope they go that route. I mean, if they go that route, it's going to be great. We're going to make a lot of videos and we're going to have a blast talking about it. But that's mostly what I had on Star Wars for you guys. So I just wanted to touch on a rumor that came up like just after dinner today, only in the last few hours that I saw anybody else talking about it. And I hadn't heard about it earlier in the week. But apparently there's some kind of snafu. I think there's an article on that Park Place. You guys could go look for it. I'm going to boot out of this real quick and then dip back over here. There we go. Go back to the one screen. Ta-da! I can do things. Another rumor over there on the Star Wars front is that the Mando movie might actually be having some trouble getting its act together, which is weird because I was told a month ago that it was being shot. They had some footage that they showed it at D23. It was limited. It wasn't much, but I thought these guys were on the ground doing work. Now they're hearing, there's rumors out that there's trouble getting a certain Star Wars ultra character, ultra celebrity back on board. And that said person's, you guys probably could have guessed it, Harrison Ford not interested in coming back to do a little bit of CGI work because I guess these idiots finally figured out that not putting Han, Luke, and Leia, and probably Chewie, on the same screen at the same time at any junction in the sequel trilogy was a bad play. It was a terrible play, and they made it, and it butt fumbled right on them. But Ford, maybe not interested in coming back. He's 147 years old. Every time he's on a movie project, he falls or crashes a plane and gets hurt. I could see why this dude might not want to do that. I honestly could. But he also had some, I think, and they were fairly realistic, heartfelt concerns that was at least contained in the rumor that I was seeing, is that because obviously Carrie Fisher's passed, she's been gone a while now, but their intention is to do more of the deep fake thing to bring her back, to get her on a screen with old Harrison Ford, old Mark Hamill, and reunite the big three that way. And he has, I guess he's got some reservations, some questions, concerns about what that means for her legacy. Is it ethically appropriate? Those kind of things. I think those are legit. We've talked about that on this channel a couple of times where, California recently just passed legislation to make sure that like the proper legal documentation has been set by families of, deceased actors. So you can't just randomly bring back people that worked for you in the 60s and just use their likeness because AI has now reached a point where they can actually, deep fake you, even though you've been gone for 30 years. You might have seen that I don't remember the actor. I think Peter Cushing was the actor that played Tarkin in the news with Disney lawsuit going forward. I guess, shortly before he died, he signed over the rights to his likeness to a friend of his, and that friend wasn't notified, and Disney went ahead and obviously reused his likeness in Rogue One. I don't know why that dude didn't file his lawsuit 10 years ago when Rogue One came out, but whatever. I'm not in that. I'm not on his legal team. What do I know? No legal advice here. But I could see where Harrison Ford there might be a sticking point for him not wanting to go down that rabbit hole and be involved in something that might tarnish the image of somebody that he probably had a relationship with over the years after the movie and probably held in some kind of high regard. So that could be a thing. I could see where he would not want to be doing. Oh, I forgot to put the overlay. Sorry, King Z. There we go. But yeah, that's Star Wars. There's not much else out there for them talking right now. Obviously, the backlash with the Acolyte thing that's starting to down a little bit. We're looking forward to the Skeleton Crew. Saw a couple of set pictures, well, not set pictures, images of the some more of the cast that we hadn't seen. I did not know Jaleel White was going to be on the Skeleton Crew, so it's going to be funny seeing Urkel in space. I love that show. I love Family Matters growing up, so seeing Jaleel White in anything as not Steve Urkel is always fun for me. I think he was in one of those crappy asylum horror flicks forever ago. I don't remember which one it was. Like, one of the ones like Sharktopus, Terracuda, Ghost Wolf versus Killer Orca, and one of those kind of things. Jaleel White popped up as like a Navy sub commander. I like that dude. I think he got a bad rap leaving Family Matters. I was always entertained by it. So we'll let you know more on Star Wars popping off when there's more to talk about there. Next on my list, and I'm going to be probably covering this one solo. King Z has opted out on this show. He's I think watching the Acolyte, I think, broke him. Honestly, I think about episode 4, I think he was checking out of anything on the D+ platform. He started calling it D- and saying things like it broke his soul. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to absolve you of doing Agatha All Along then. But Agatha All Along opens today. Started about 23 minutes ago in the States on the Eastern Seaboard here. 2 episodes, Disney+, and then weekly until Halloween. I think that's the number of episodes it's getting. I'm going to dip once again back over into L formats of, oh, look at that. I did that first. And I'm going to come down here. So, guys, I can do this. I don't need King Z, but don't tell him. That's my boy at all. We don't need to do that. But I'm going to bring up just wanted to put that up there. So on Yahoo News, courtesy of Fox News, and this headline is everywhere. You could find this on 70 different websites. I'm sure Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Mary Sue, Cineblend, all these people are running the same headline. You guys might have seen the clip out there. It's like Acolyte 2.0, honestly. Dude, even I'm sick of talking about the Acolyte at this point, but I feel like it's the gift that keeps on giving in terms of how many times do we have to teach you this lesson? Honestly. Right? Headline here. Agatha All Along stars cheer new show as gayest Marvel project yet ahead of Disney Plus premiere. Congratulations. You're not the gayest anything. We've had gay shows for decades. It doesn't matter if you're the gayest Marvel project yet. Nobody cares about that at all, except for the shills on Twitter and the shills that write these stupid articles that literally pander to and promote the lowest common denominator in storytelling. Your orientation, your sexuality is not a character trait. It's not part of a character. It's part of a character profile, and that's it. There's a million other things you should be promoting when you're putting a show out there, especially if it's not aimed at the largest commercial demographic possible. It's been said before about 8 gazillion times. You can make whatever show you want. Its budget and its appeal needs to be targeted in a way that reflects what your potential audience is. And no matter how you want to slice it, and I'm sorry to be the ones to tell you, I'll try to be nice about it too. mainstream consumers of media, particularly in genre, they're not down for that, guys. They're just not. You know, you can make the show. You could have every character on the show could be gay, and nobody would care. What we don't need to see are show reporters, journalists, if you will. I hate even giving them the label, interviewing the stars of these shows and making them look uncomfortable. You guys can go find the clip of the one reporter, I think it was from Variety, interviewing on the red carpet, you know, some of the leads of this show, Catherine Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, and doing the thing where it was eerily reminiscent of the Acolyte interview where the one reporter, of course, no cliche, no stereotype there, asks in a particular cadence and tone, is this the gayest show ever for Star Wars? It's like they got the same dude. He's not the same guy, but they got the same guy to ask these three people that same question. And of course, they had to give like the canned response of, it better be. I hope so. That's what I signed up for. And I'm like, if you just made the damn show, right? If you just made the damn show and let it just go up on its own without putting up any preliminary diversity or inclusion shields as like guards against like what's probably going to be terrible quality, right? You wouldn't get, I promise you wouldn't get half the backlash you get. But every single time people have moved on from your last debacle, because it's your last debacle, it's not ours. We're laughing at all this nonsense, but it is divisive and laughable how you try to play this. But the facts are the facts. The Acolyte had, on order of operations of the show's viewership, the lowest anything had for Star Wars. Rest assured, coming off of Echo, does anybody remember Echo? You see a bunch of fan pages for Echo out on Facebook anywhere, on Twitter? Do you see anybody posting, fan art of Echo in anywhere mainstream that isn't like a leftover Tumblr blog? No, you don't. Most people don't even remember Echo came out this year. That's how far in the rear view that show is, And every single one of these headlines, every single one of them singing the praises of this show, which needed, mind you, a social media embargo that ended only on this past Monday, and a reviewer critic review embargo that ended literally 9 p.m. when the show went live. If your show is good, you don't have embargoes like that to protect it. Yeah, that's what you do when you have no faith in a project and you just don't want it to bomb outright. You at least want it to survive to the weekend, maybe, so more eyeballs get on it, and then it gets destroyed word of mouth. But that's what they've done here. They pulled together a show, a spinoff of a spinoff. Because let's be honest, WandaVision was a spinoff of characters that we had seen in 3 Avengers movies that people actually liked. People like Paul Bettany as Vision and Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda. People like those two characters. You know who people liked also a little? Agatha. Why? Because in small doses, she was kind of funny on WandaVision as like the neighbor, as the side character, as a bit of comic relief that ended up with a bigger role at the end of the show. But you spun out an entire series, an 8-episode series, 8, 9, whatever, who cares? You spin out an entire series on this character based on the strength of a memed moment from the show. Like this would be the equivalent of the clowns at Sony giving Morbius a show or Madam Web, because the internet lit them up with memes based on something hilarious that happened that the studio got wrong and thought that meant the show was actually a good idea, that the character had potential legs, that people were going to gravitate towards this. Nope. Not happening. It's not going to happen. I'll tell you why. This show here is going to be it's just going to be another entry in the Disney Plus catalog of shows that spent about as much money as House of the Dragon, which is astonishing to me, right? Any estimates for, Agatha all along are anywhere from, 150 to $200 million for 8 episodes that are going to run Marvel length of 25 to 35 minutes. And that's all you get. That's all the bang you get for your buck. $200 million for this show to net no new viewers, because no one's subscribing to Disney Plus to watch this. So that's like a zero gain right there. Disney Plus is already in trouble anyway. Bob Iger himself is, talking about a $4 billion loss in streaming for the quarter. This doesn't pull people back in. You know what pulled people back in? Mando. Mando got the streaming thing off the ground. That was their peak performing project. That's it. And that's all they have. Everything after that is Bluey and crap that they don't make. But this show isn't it. This show is going to probably tank. It might not tank as hard as the Acolyte, because I generally don't think that there's much in the way of established canon that most people know about for them to mess with here. You get them Disney Plus Star Wars shows, and people know about Vader. They know about Obi-Wan Kenobi. They know about Skywalker. They know some of the planets by name, so how the Force is supposed to generally work. You can't mess with that. Every time they mess with that, it bites them. This show here, this show on a good day for them should go down like Echo. It should just be there. It should be lukewarm at best. People that were going to be attracted to some of the characters based on that lowest common denominator of, you know, that character is gay. I see myself in that character. Please don't clip this. Um, that means this show is for me. Well, I don't get why that has to be. You know, I don't get why there has to be certain shows for certain people when it's a mainstream thing like Marvel or DC or Star Wars. Just make a good story. You know, let people identify with the characters' actions and their feelings and not who they want to date or what color their shirt is or what planet they're from. Like those, that's not any that there's no empathy there. That's not how identifying with characterization works. That's the easiest thing to do is to project yourself into a character as a writer and then think that everybody checks those same individual boxes as you do means they're going to like it. I know plenty of gay people that don't like what this show is going to be. I know plenty of gay people that didn't like the acolyte because they said, "Well, cool." They hinted at some lesbian themes. There was no lesbian relationship. It was bait, you know. Like, why can't you just make a show and just happen to have like a gay woman in it? So I don't know. I'm gonna watch this show. I will probably bang out a review for the. I'll probably do both episodes. I'm feeling kind of motivated. I'm at least intrigued by because the trailer wasn't terrible. The trailer actually wasn't that bad. It had some decent horror elements. So maybe we'll see if it gets a little cliched, a little too over the top with some of the gay characteristic things. I find some of those stereotypes as offensive as I thought most gay guys probably do. None of the gay men I know behave like the one gay male I've seen in the trailer of this show. I just don't know guys like that. I just don't, you know. So I don't know. I'm gonna stop sharing there. Dip back over here. Maybe I'll just leave it on the little window there. I'm gonna run with that. So all right. So we banged out some Star Wars. We banged out some Agatha. I guess maybe I'll dip over here for a quick second. Go blow back up there. So tomorrow night, Thursday on Max. We'll stick with superheroes for a quick minute. I got two things on superheroes. On Max tomorrow night, we get the Penguin starts up. I'm not sure if it's a total series drop. I'm not sure if it's week to week. I do have to take a peek there and see what's good. Let me dip over here and see. There we go, dude. He surely did, Kingsley. Thanks for checking in, dude. Sorry I started the stream late. I don't know if you saw that. You have the wrong live on the stream. Dude, I'm running with it, dude. I just saw that now. I'm running with it. I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. Good luck on the secure location. But anyways, I didn't have the comments open. I'm all over the place here. And I started 10 minutes late because I didn't hit the go live. So anyway, I'm interested in the Penguin. I know that Batman's not going to be on that show. There's nothing I can do about that. I hope that Colin Farrell as Penguin turns in more of like what I did get from the Batman, and his character is at least cool enough of like a cool enough of a gangster for me to watch, for a bunch of episodes, and that it doesn't fall off in terms of like style, like Gotham did. Like I don't need any more Batman shows without Batman, but I'll give this one a chance because from what I've seen on the trailer anyway, it looks like it captures kind of that dark realness, the grittiness. I think that's an overused term, but I feel honestly, I think it applies here, though, to be fair. Um, it feels like they've captured some of that movie in this show. It's very dark. I think it's mostly shot at night in all the key places. I'm down for Colin Farrell. I've seen him say in interviews that he hopes he never puts the fat suit back on again. So it must have been a lot of work for him to be all that coming down hard on it. But I'm interested in seeing that. I think the organized crime side of Gotham can be cool. If it's warring mob families, that's kind of nifty. I could get into that. What I don't want, and I hope it doesn't go that way, if they start throwing in random characters that aren't Batman, if they start bringing in a Robin, which I don't think they can, because I think at this point, because Pattinson played like Bruce Wayne Batman like year two, I think. I don't think they can bring in a Robin, but if they do because they just think they should or they can, no Robins, no Nightwings, no Batgirls. You should stay away, I think, from any of like the more supernaturally empowered villains, anything that requires like big effects work, you should probably not do, especially if you're not going to have Batman there to kind of handle it. Like, I don't know if that's a good play. I feel like if you end up using the big villains, like if they actually bring in like a version of them that's going to be the Joker, because didn't they have Joker at the end of the Batman in the post credit scene? I thought they did. I don't think was it Leto Joker? I don't think it was. I don't remember. I only saw it once. But yeah, I think they should stay away from supernaturally stuff or from big dog villains. If you want to bring in like Zaz or something like that, something that's like ground level and kind of intimidating, kind that fits that kind of homicidal, organized, violent crime stuff, like that could work. That could make the Penguin a pretty solid show. I think what I don't need to see out of that show at all, and yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I've seen no reason to not give it a shot at least. Is that if they go bait and switch? Because I'm kind of tired of that in some of the other shows and movies that I kind of come across in the last couple of years. If the show is the Penguin, then what I don't need to see is any variation of the Penguin that ends up like Mando season 3, where then I have to somehow it worked, I guess, in Mando 3 because people got to say, "Oh, the name of the show is The Mandalorian. It's not Din Djarin." Like, motherfucker, please. The show is about Mando. He's Mando. Din Djarin's the Mandalorian. It was always supposed to be that. Stop. So what I don't want to see from the Penguin, really don't want to see from the Penguin, is that he's the main character for the first episode, but then it sets up a protege or a rival or a weird relationship with like his mother, a love interest, and then that becomes the focal. Like I'd really rather not get into anything like that. I don't think that's the way to go for that kind of show. Excuse me, guys. All right, that's what I got there. I'm gonna do the bumperoo. We're gonna go small screen. We're gonna do a little bit of this. Kingsley would probably hate on me talking through it, but he's not here. I want to jump over to where is my Pixar story? There we go. So here's one, and I got a twofer on this. I'll get the small one out of the way, the easy one out of the way here. So Pixar made Riley less gay. Laid off employees, lost Inside Out 2 bonus. Let's do that half first. Yeah, that sucks. That's one more reason to hate them, to hate Disney, to hate Pixar as a studio, as a business. If you put folks through crunch to get them finishing up on goals you have, to have them hit objectives and benchmarks that you demanded that they have, and then you screw them last second, then I hope there's some kind of class action legal thing that can go down to recuperate there, because that's scummy. And this is how you alienate talent from showing up to work for you in the future. People don't recontract. This is how, unfortunately, it keeps their labor costs down, because what it does is it makes the available job offerings, they can then pay less talented people less money because they won't care. So screw you guys for screwing them out of bonus money. I think that sucks. I don't care whatever my political differences may be with Disney and the message and all that other nonsense. People do work. They deserve their bonuses. They deserve their paychecks. They deserve all their benefits. That's nonsense that you cut them out. All right. More importantly, so depending on your side of whatever whatever you believe politically, and however, whatever you think of Disney, there's no doubt in my mind that that the story's accurate. That let's just read a little bit of there, I guess. Actually, I don't. I already did the crunch thing. So the story out of some of the employees is that Disney basically ordered them to remove any elements from the movie Inside Out 2 that could have been construed as part of the message or woke or gay agenda, whatever stupid label you want to put on the phenomenon that is identity politics going into media. As the people were talking about that they say, originally that Riley, I guess, was probably supposed to be a little bit more into that. She might have been a little bit more into Val than the final cut of the movie let on. And all I got to say about that is I'm once again, just like with Agatha, you're just not the target demographic. Sorry, you're just not. Animated movies cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. Okay. They're art on one hand, but they are a business commodity on the other hand. They have to make money or they die. That's just how that is. Sorry, not sorry. So there's no shot that Pixar, after taking the absolute drumming over the last few years that they've taken with pretty much everything that wasn't elemental, right? They weren't going back to that dry ass well one more time. Not with Inside Out. Not with that. The first Inside Out movie made a bunch of cash. People loved it. People loved taking their kids to it. They knew it was safe. They knew it wasn't going to, ruffle any feathers. And here we are. If they removed any type of love interest from her, from the Riley character for Val, and because again, it's kind of odd that folks demand that the characters of that age express like explicitly romantic intentions, same sex, other sex or not. It's weird that people keep demanding that they see this kind of stuff in kids' films. It is a bit odd, and really, you folks need to get over that. This movie went on to be the highest grossing animated film of all time. It hit like 1,000,000,003. Now, I saw it said earlier that it was. I'm trying to remember what game it was about. I think it was people were talking about um Astrobot having underperforming sales figures, and somebody, of course, chimed in and said, "Well, see, if it's not just because it's not woke, that didn't make it a bestseller like Space Marines or Hogwarts Legacy or Stellar Blade or any of the other 800 games that are doing better than Concord." Nobody ever said that. There's no guarantee that your movie, your game, your book, your show not having woke elements makes it good. We've been canceling book shows and movies and remove and games for decades if they've been terrible. They've been getting dunked on regardless of what kind of messaging has been in them. So it's not a bullet. It's not being not woke is not a bulletproof shield. Go watch Friday the 13th Part 9 or something. Like not woke, terrible. This is how it is. Jaws 4, terrible. Die Hard 9, terrible. I already used 9. Die Hard 8, terrible. That's not a guarantee either which way. But what you can be assured of is that present day 2024, the jig is up. If people catch a whiff, if the target demographic, if the biggest cross section of your audience catches a whiff that anything DEI has been mixed into the batter and cooked into the product, you're toast. Especially if it pertains to kids stuff. Now you can get away with including some kind of messaging like that or that kind of representation in a show for grown-ups. I just watched the entire run of Chaos on Netflix. That's Jeff Goldblum having a midlife crisis as Zeus. Plenty of representation in that show. And you know what? I liked it. It was written well. The characters were interesting. It wasn't a perfect show. A little bit kind of tapered off in the end. And they obviously left some stuff set up for a second season. But like, there you go. It's a show for fucking grown-ups. You can do whatever you want. But Pixar making a movie, for kids, kids that are growing up, like, no, bro. I know there were parents that were already kind of flipping out that it in Riley's subconscious where the emotions are that she had like hetero intentions. She had a crush on a boy in class. People were talking about, oh, do we really even need that? I'm like, well, she is 13, 14. But I mean, again, if you're gonna have it, you play towards the numbers. And then the fact is that you just don't have the numbers. You can talk about hetero isn't a default setting, but nature has determined that that's a lie. It is kind of a default setting. And if you want to bring in the largest group of folks you can bring in, you target products with mass appeal to that largest group. You can go ahead and make whatever anime movie you want for 10, $15 million, animated short film, keep it a little bit smaller, keep that budget manageable, put whatever messaging in you want. Maybe you make a return. But when you don't, you get things like Bros. You get a Hollywood movie that had a budget of, $80 million that made like $11 box office. Why? Because you targeted a massive budget on a gay rom-com and it just like nobody showed up. Like straight people didn't show up, gay people didn't show up either. And that's the other thing with things like Agatha that I think I'm going to circle back to that real quick before I move on. It's going to be funny when we're going to get numbers for this show. The first 2 episodes will get some views because every new thing, Disney, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, gets some votes, get some views up front. It's just the next car crash. We know that. That's just how that is. But then off a cliff it'll go like Rings of Power. Rings of Power, as you know, came back for season 2. It came back with 50% of the viewers that it received in season 1. And of that number, 50% have already dropped out by episode 5. So yeah, steady decline. So when Agatha rolls through its numbers and we see a maybe decent to low views up front, but when we get to episode 3, much like The Acolyte, it's going to go off a cliff. We're going to get all that same flack. Oh, Disney and Marvel have catered to the incel istophobe fans, and it's their fault the show's tanking. I'm like, dude, you could have watched it. Where was the rest of you? Where was the rest of the modern audience? Like, no one's stopping you from buying Disney Plus to watch this show. You know, like my video isn't stopping anybody from watching this. The guys over there, geeks and gamers or neurotic or anything else. Like, I like this stuff. They're not making Disney change course. They're not tanking your show. You literally could just go show up and watch the show. Buy yourself a Disney Plus subscription and have at it. But you got to get off Twitter to do that. You got to get off Twitter to do that. You got to start a YouTube channel and hype up shows that you enjoy. If that's the route you want to go. But I just don't see that happening. And I think that every single time something like Pixar gets the message, like the real message that, we have to be profitable or we're gone, we got to see that as a victory over here. When games like Space Marines 2, tell, the larger critics at large, yeah, no, we're actually not going to talk about fascism in our game. No, actually, there are no female Space Marines. We're not doing that in this game. We don't care what the higher level over there at Games Workshop. They might be changing some lore. We're not doing that in this game. This game is just this game. It's about dudes being dudes, talking about brotherhood, loyalty, fighting to the end for the emperor, all that good stuff. We even if the game's not perfect, and by all means it's not. It's basically Gears of War with like a tech tree, skill tree. So I mean, it does some stuff kind of cool on the hardware side with rendering, gazillions of enemies, but it's nothing I haven't not played before. Same thing with Stellar Blade, same thing with Hogwarts Legacy. I've played dozens of these games growing up. They've been there. This isn't a new concept. Open world games, hot girls running around in funky outfits with guns and swords. Like, no, we do that. That's what gamers do. Hogwarts Legacy is basically The Witcher, but like at Hogwarts, running around, side quests, story progression, character builds. Like, yeah, we've always had that kind of stuff. But every single time critics come after these studios, these developers, whomever, and try to like intimidate them into not doing the right thing. Black Myth Wukong is another great example. People want IGN clown sites like IGN want to talk about. We're gonna go ahead and rate Concord an 8, but we're gonna rank Wukong a 7 or whatever because of lack of diversity. Like, it's a Chinese studio in an ethnically, racially, nearly homogenous country of 2 billion people. Yeah, no. You can go ahead and check out Assassin's Creed Shadows to see how that's going to work out when you try to pull that plug. The pre-order numbers for that not looking good. Pre-order numbers for Veilguard, the next Dragon Age, not looking good from what I'm hearing. And again, it all circles back to that. It's when these companies don't get the message, our message, not like the message, right? Like the actual message of how to cater to fans that actually buy your stuff. This is what happens. Pixar are going to look at that 1.3 billion in the bank, and I guarantee you, when Inside Out 3 comes out in a couple years, Riley going to be 16 and she's going to be dating that boy from the inside of her memory. She ain't going to be dating Val, and that's okay. It's okay, and it's weird that every time kids movies, because I remember people doing this with Luca. What was that? Luca, the one with the kid whose friend could turn into like a merman. It was a Pixar. It was from a few years ago. They did the same thing. Anytime you get a kid character in a movie that expresses any kind of friendship or affection for another same sex character, that's automatically in some people's weird ass minds shipped into romantic feelings. Like, dude, he's 11. Like, no, that's his best friend. Val in the movie, I did a review. Go check it out, guys. On Inside Out 2, Val was just somebody Riley looked up to in the final cut of the movie. Like the captain of the hockey team. She was basically Riley idolized her. She wanted to be her. She didn't want a James Bond want to be with her. But weirdos do that, man, and it's kind of off-putting to me when we see people do that kind of stuff, man. It's like, no, they're kids in kids movies. They don't have to have romantic relationships when they're 12. That's odd. Now, if you want to take a shot at that when this character's 16, that's still a little weird because it's some underage stuff, but it's not like coming of age movies haven't been a thing forever. I'm not here to tell you that. Plenty of movies that we see in the 70s, 80s, 90s have coming of age messages. They do things like first dances, first kisses, first breakups. I mean, you can't avoid it. It's fact of life. Everybody, it's something we're all familiar with. So they can do that. But when you're 11, dude, just let them be kids, man. Just let them be fucking kids. You don't need to really go that route. I got one more thing, and I'm not, I'm gonna have King Z run me through the through the tutorial because I'm not sure if I can go directly from, one share and I guess I can't one share into another without actually closing that first. And I really need to have that window closed. So here's another one, right? I forgot this show was even out. Most of you guys probably forgot as well. I didn't even know Apple TV Plus was still a thing. I got through about half of Masters of the Air, and here we are. But Time Bandits, Taika Waititi's Time Bandits, canceled after a single season. Yeah, yeah. Time Bandits is an 80s classic. It's like a cult classic thing. It's not enormous, but lots of people look back on that movie with very fond memories. For a lot of people, Time Bandits and like things like Willow were their entries into the fantasy genre on screen. If you read a whole bunch of things like the Forgotten Realms book, Dragonlance, like we had books, but gaming hadn't really come along. Video gaming hadn't really anywhere advanced near that. We had like some crappy PC text-based games like King's Quest and things like that that kind of scratched that itch a bit. And of course, we always had tabletop with things like Dungeons and Dragons, Rift, and the other billions of tabletop games like that. But I remember hearing when this was coming out that they were going to take certain liberties, and you can see some of those certain liberties, with the casting right there and whatever. They're going to make their modern audience stuff, and I'm sure everybody on the show did a fine job. But this again is an example. I feel like this is exactly like the Willow situation from Disney Plus. You guys remember Willow? No, not the fun movie, not the fun little nerdy Star Wars, but in fantasy age story. Ron Howard made a movie Willow from like '86 with Val Kilmer and Warwick Davis. No, not that one. Like the crappy series that came out on Disney Plus in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I don't remember it either. That show was so bad that not only did it not get a season 2, but they took it off the platform and set it on fire. All right. It's somewhere in a landfill with all the old ET Nintendo Atari cartridges, from what I've been told. It's that bad. So it's funny to me that all these things seem like they're starting to crumble. Rings of Power based on a classic IP. It should have millions of viewers every season, every episode. It should have picked up right from the hype of the Fellowship of the Ring trilogy, which people still love. Whenever there's re-airings of that at local theaters, whenever I pop into one, it's always extended edition. It's almost always packed. If it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all shows. And I don't live in that big of a place. I live in a fairly sizable state with some decent population density, but still, it's people love what they love, so you would think that they could extend in perpetuity when that kind of subject matter is respected, but Rings of Power getting dunked on and dying off. I hear Wheel of Time, King Z says that show is a wreck based on a beloved series of books that they just can't get out of their way, and now you've got Taika Waititi, I'm going to burn your mythology to the ground or whatever his dumbass said back when he was talking about Thor, and then he did it, for Love and Thunder, that this show is now cooked. And like, dude, is there a course correction going on here? Like, is this a thing? Are we just now going to get over like the next year, like whatever was in the tail end of the colon of, the major studios like Apple, like Sony, like Disney, like all these places? Are they just going to poop out the last little desperate squeal of crap that is anything that's like woke infused DEI stuff? And then that's it. And then we could just move on to, your politics don't need to be, my politics don't need to be in a show either. Can we get back to like political neutrality? Like, unless we're talking about, like vague story concepts in our shows, can we do that? Can we get back to that, please? Like, I get that like an OG Star Wars, in Lucas's mind, the Empire was the United States trampling on the Viet Cong. Like, I get that, but you know what? They never said that in the movie. There were never overt mentions of that. Nobody ever like pigeonholed like any real world people into uh being like direct correlations to characters in the movie. And I feel like that's all we do now. We need to get away from that because these shows are costing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and delivering like no return. So it makes you wonder how much money that they actually have left to burn on these situations, especially when there's only so far you can push a fan base. And I think that Star Wars is cooked. Like, I don't care how good Skeleton Crew is. That shit could be the second thing of Stranger Things and Wednesday all wrapped up into one for the preteen teen audience. And I still don't think it's going to do the numbers they need it to do. Like I haven't heard anybody in my demographic talk about, oh, we're looking forward to getting Disney Plus back in December for Skeleton Crew for the kids. I'm not hearing anybody talk about that. Maybe you guys are. I'm definitely not. But I think so. They've already shown legacy fans to the door. But you know what? They need us to come back really bad. You know, I've been to two Comic Cons, two smaller shows, conventions, in like the last 6 weeks out my way. And you know what? I still see people in Borg outfits. I still see people in traditional Batman costumes. I see Cammy from Street Fighter. I see Chun Li from Street Fighter. I see Leia. I've seen exactly zero Ray Skywalker Palpatines. I've seen exactly zero Kylo Rens. I've seen exactly zero Michael Burnhams from Star Trek Discovery. But you know what I have seen? Like I said, I've seen the Borg. I've seen a couple of people doing the red shirt, gold shirt thing. I've seen a couple of people do the still to this day the Khaleesi thing from Game of Thrones. You know what I don't see? Anybody from Rings of Power. I don't see anybody from Time. You know what I don't see? I don't see Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who or Ncuti Gatwa Doctor Who. Seen plenty of William Hartnells, plenty of David Tennants, plenty of Matt Smiths. Even seen a couple of Capaldis where they did up the gray in the hair. I thought that was a nice touch. So the interest for legacy stuff is still there, and it still drives these IPs. And I think the sooner these people that run these shows, that write these articles, not that this article is particularly bad or anything like that, um, more like the shill hit pieces that want to blame people like the Critical Drinker for the Acolyte failing. Like, dude, please. Like, if the dude videos gets a million views, it's not turning a million people off of the show. It's just those people weren't watching your show already. So they don't have that kind of power. I wish those guys had that kind of power. We'd have been back to good IPs years ago if they did, but they don't. This is going to really come down to a reckoning within these creators that the time is over now. You guys had 10 years, give or take. I mean, I think that the big revolution and all this stuff kind of popped off around 2015, 2016-ish with, the Ghostbusters Answer the Call. But you guys have stacked L after L after L after L, and every time it's the same thing. You tell us it's not for us, and we started to believe you and then treated it that way. And then still showed up anyway. Like anytime we get one of these movies that bombs, whether it's a Charlie's Angels or a Dark Fate, whether it's a Birds of Prey, whether it's I'm trying to think, I don't even remember what the last Marvel movie was. Eternals might have fit that bill. Deadpool and Wolverine obviously cleaned up, but I mean, like, I don't like every time one of these movies tanks, we see verified ticket sales, and it's still dudes that are going, 65-35, 70-30 versus a female demographic. So we're still supporting all this crap. Imagine if we actually went outside and touched the grass. Ncuti Gatwa, not Doctor Who, told us to go touch that. Doctor Who's it's not for you. Go outside, go do something else. Well, a lot of people have, and now look at you. You got stuff falling apart left, right, and sideways. I think I think they're going to have that reckoning sooner or later. I'm not sure how they survive. I'm not sure how they survive going forward, imagining an audience for their stuff when it's just not there. I honestly, I don't get that. So I don't know, guys. I think my voice is trashed. I'm going to probably wrap this one up a little early. King Z, I wish you were here to run some of this stuff against, but I know you're doing your thing. But I appreciate it, guys. If you want to hang out again, we're FrostCast Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. I will be doing solo reviews of Agatha All Along, starting probably tomorrow or Friday, going forward until the end of that show. But drop a comment. If you listen to this while you're driving, while you're doing the dishes, mowing the lawn, taking care of your kids, putting together a Lego set, writing your book at the gym, I don't care. Just give us a listen. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm more interested in the chat than the subscription, to be honest. I really like to have some stuff to bounce off of instead of just King Z telling me I have the wrong overlay. But I think that's going to I think that should probably do it for me. So in honor of King Z not being here, I'm just going to do the short exit for him. Nope. Bye.